And maybe you're getting notification.
Yeah.
Okay. And it looks like we are live and we are sitting at 11:32. So I want to get started. Welcome everybody. We are going to do an intro to Zearn today. I put it down for an hour. If you have to jump off for any reason, no big deal. The slides are down below and I will make sure that I'm also sharing these out with you after the fact. So the one thing that I think is going to be big is we have about an hour. I've built in some time for some questions. If nobody has questions, we'll keep moving on. And then we'll have a little bit of time at the end. But as was stated earlier, I'm going to reference the slides here and there. But really, I want to take you into Zearn and show you. And I'm by no means the guru at Zearn. I don't work for them. But I can take you through some of the basics and get some answers to any questions that you have, and anything that I can't answer. I'm going to be honest with you, and I will get you the answer because we got some great contacts that I can reach out to. So on the call so far for BT BOCES, I don't think anyone else is coming on. I'm Paul Volkert. I'm the pre-K 6 math specialist, and I'll kick it over to Emily for her intro.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Emily Kova here, Instructional Technology Support Specialist, primarily embedded in Maine, Endwell, and Windsor, but I'm here to help. Thanks.
And I really appreciate Emily coming on today. She'll be able to chime in for some stuff to make sure that I'm compliant with Ed Law 2D, because apparently I wasn't the other day. And we'll kind of go from there. So the big thing, protocols to start, make sure that you get credit with this through ClickUp. I think you've seen this before. We'll walk you through that piece at the very end. Your video option, we love seeing faces, but understand that if your internet is as bad as mine is, you might have to shut your video off. That will help out with streaming. Keep yourself muted unless you're speaking, but please chime in. I'm going to show you some ways to get to different reports, to roster your students, to assign stuff. If you have a different way of doing it, because there's multiple ways to do it, feel free to chime in. Because I kind of am going based on how I do all of this stuff, but there's more than one way to do it. And then if you can, end your speaking with the word thanks. That lets us know that you're kind of done chatting and somebody else can chime in. And the big part is number 5, that chat section. Down in the very bottom, if your toolbar's at the bottom, it might be in the 3 dots for more, but head right into that chat section, ask questions, pose advice, comments, anything you want. Emily is going to be monitoring that. I'll be jumping back and forth with it. But we use that as a tool to kind of back channel and chat as well as kind of guide where we're going. So with that being said, if you can, jump into that chat section quick and just introduce yourself real quick virtually. Name, district, grade, and you can answer those 1 or 2 of those questions if you want. You don't got to do all of it. But what's your experience with Zearn? Or what questions do you have that you're hoping to accomplish from this? Because if I don't have it in this, I'll make sure that we get to it during the Q&A at the end. Okay, so I'll give you a second to do that, and then we'll get jumping right in.
Paul, are you looking at the chat?
Yeah, I am. Sorry, I get sidetracked. So uh, as we're kind of going through this, I'm glancing a little, but Emily, chime in if I didn't. But we got quite a few districts on here, and we got a lot of people who are just starting with Zearn, people who have a little bit of experience, and some who are just trying to get some ideas. Like, is this what we want to do? Is this where we want to go? And I'm going to preface all of this with. I'm hoping that if you are already using Zearn, this will either make valid what you're currently doing, or give you some things to think about how you're going to move forward with instruction. I'm hoping that you'll see a quick intro with this, where you can make that decision. Is it the right platform? Because I don't work for Zearn. I don't get kickbacks. We had a lot of people that were interested in hearing about it, so I want to share it with you. So even at the very end, if you say this maybe isn't for me, that's perfectly fine. I'm glad that it only took this session to get you there instead of you spending a couple hours around it. So keep using that chat as we go through. I think you've seen this slide if you've been on any of our kickoff meetings. Just make sure your district's aware of what you're doing and check with your district for anything regarding policies and whatnot. Especially with EdLaw 2D. This is a free platform. There is a paid version. I will talk about that. Many are going to be using the free platform because it does a lot, but I want to just make sure we preface with that piece. Emily, anything you wanted to add to that since I'm on video now?
Well, I think I'll be adding it in a few slides when we talk about rostering.
Okay.
Just that the law goes into effect July 1st, I guess.
Yeah, good.
Sorry.
No, that's perfect. Keep chiming in. And I'm going to go one more slide and then I'm jumping out, and realize that these slides are going to be for your resource. This part, table of contents. Sorry, Emily, I had to change my Bitmoji. I just couldn't do it.
Oh, I loved it. You made my night.
I know. Maybe I'll put it back in. I don't know. But anyways, this is linked up. So if you click on accounts comparison, you'll see a link that you can click on to jump to that section in the slides. Just because if you want to, if you have 2 minutes to look something up, I want you to be able to jump to it. I don't want you to have to search through my slides because I get lost in my own slide deck. So that's there for you for after the fact. And again, Emily's sharing the link to the slides there in the chat if you want to go grab that. Once you get in, just click file and then do add to drive. It should be off into the side there.
So you guys will have to copy and paste that link in a new tab, just so you know, because the link is no longer live in Zoom. We're trying to get that fixed. And then go file, add to my drive.
Okay, and after the fact, I'll probably send you an email with the link to it, just because, why not? So as long as you get confirmed inside Kickup, I'll probably do that tonight or tomorrow. So let's jump right in. It is zearn.org, as it's stated right here. And I already logged in simply because I want to make sure that I could get in. But you have two different ways to log in, and I'll show the slide here before I jump in. You can sign in with Google, or you can create an account by signing up. What I'm finding is, mine might be because it's an older account. When I use my BOCES account, I can either click log in with Google or use my credentials, and either way, it's getting me in because they seem to be tied together. But just make sure that you're picking one way for you to log in as a teacher. Once you're logged in, you are going to see this dashboard. And there's a lot going on here, but I'll show you some navigation pieces and then try to walk you through some of the student side of it as well. So this teacher view, the first thing that you're going to do once you log in is go to your roster. And there's a couple ways to do that. You can go right here where it says go to roster, which is next steps, or there's a spot right up here. This is always going to be up at the top of the bar. So I'll go into my roster and you'll see mine's fairly small with the number of people. And there's my class code. If you really want to join my class, I'll send it to you. But I'm using this primarily with my kids, which is why I use their first and last names for creating students accounts, but Emily's going to speak to that in just a second. the big part here is once you log in and get to roster, you're going to get something that shows you this. At any point, you can change the name of your class or you can change the grade. Now, when I go back, you'll see I'm in 3rd grade, but I'm assigning 1st grade work because my son's in 1st grade. So it's okay to jump back and forth. You're not locked into one grade level when you're assigning. Okay, so that's one of the big pieces. Another thing that's in here, when you're creating these, you'll click on Add Student. And once we get into this section, this is where we can start pasting and copying for students with passwords and whatnot. And I'm going to kick it to Emily to speak about what we should use to make sure that we are compliant.
Can you go back to the slide deck for me, Paul, and go to that
Sure can.
slide? Just so they can see what I'm talking about.
Where is it? Right here?
Yeah, I think you skipped it. It's number 2 up. One more. There you go.
Oh, okay.
All right, so the new ed law is about students' personally identifiable information, also known as PII, is protected. And that we're not selling it or allowing platforms to have that information. And so when you're creating your roster, it can kind of be difficult unless your district has given you permission. PII includes their full name. It also is just if you would do their first name or just their last name or their initials. So you really need to talk to your district about what information they are okay with you using in Zearn, because it contains, when you create that roster, all of their PII relating to their name. Sorry, I got a video out. So please, before you start sending these home, talk to your district and say, what information of PII am I allowed to include in my Zearn rosters for my students? Sorry, thank you.
Awesome. So you can mass add in here. So one of the things like I would possibly do is just my last name and then student numbers. That's one way to kind of get around it. Notice that for individual accounts, which is the freed account, you get 1 class and up to 35 students. So we have to get kind of creative in the way we do this if you have different sections and whatnot. And that's something that you can talk to us about after, and I can show you some creative workarounds for that piece for the free part. So if I do add those, you'll see here they are right here. They give a password for them, but I can delete that off. You know, and like 1, 2, 3, 4 is probably not the most secure password, but you can change it to whatever you want, and you can get them a starting grade. So maybe you have multiples and a password is going to be required, but if I come here, I can change their grade level for each individual student. One of the big pieces that I can't show you on here, but I can in the slide deck, is your kids' Zearn accounts carry year to year. So if they've used this in the past, they can technically sign in with their old account. So this is
Paul, quick question. Can
yeah.
they be in more than 1 class at a time?
Normally it's only 1 class because it's going to be 1 curriculum because it's just math based. So what they'll have to do is click here, and this is my understanding, and it could change because they've been updating the platform. When a kid logs in, and we'll get to student interface here in a second, but this is kind of what they're seeing. They just click where it's going to say their class if they've had a prior account with Zearn. They click there, and then they'll just type in your class code, and your class code is given to you on the roster page right here. Okay, this CR one, you would just give that to kids that already have an account, and that's how they would change it, just by clicking their class right here, and it'll just prompt them for a new code. So that's something to keep in mind, not right now, but if this is in place moving a little bit forward, if you want to continue to use this as supplementals. So
well, I have a question just for myself. I apologize. So
no
if they can't be in more than 1 class, could you have a co-teacher attached?
we'll get to that in just a second. Because the co-teacher part of it, is actually one of the paid features. And I'll show you all of that. And I'm in discussion with Zearn to try to get those paid features open. Because I would love for you to be able to add your co-teacher for right now to try it. Especially if we got big numbers coming in with attempts. So any questions on that first part in terms of just getting your kids their login information? One piece, and I know I just said, are there any questions? I'm going to keep going. But you do have a chance to print your student login cards right here. So if I click that, and I'm not going to because you're going to see all these passwords, which I don't really care, but probably shouldn't, it'll show you the kid's login name and their password, and it'll be on like a PDF that you can print out. So if you are doing work drop-off or lunch things or whatnot, lunch pickups, that's where we're seeing some people using those login cards. They're actually cutting those apart and giving those to people. So any questions? I'm going to check the chat.
So I have a list of questions, but I was kind of waiting until we got to that section of your presentation.
Okay.
But I will ask or suggest something. So you know how you can edit your passwords? If you know because I'm thinking most of our kids are probably littles, is edit the password to a password they already have so they are not having to memorize a zillion passwords. We are trying to make this easy on them and their families, not more difficult.
Great point for that one. I will get to it at the very end. I'm going to ask, like, what videos do you want for support for parents and whatnot? And I got a couple already on the docket to do today. That's one of them, getting kids logged in. So you can send a video to the parents, like, here's how you get your kid logged in. And it'll be a minute-long video of me clicking around and showing kids where to go. So you'll have supports to back that up if you need to send that along.
Paul, we had another question from Marlene. If an account is already set up, but we are concerned about PII, is there a quick way to change all the names but keep the passwords the same? So can you change the student name in Zearn?
Once they've logged in, the username is there, to my understanding. I will put that question along to Zearn to see if there's a back way of them doing it. I would highly recommend, if you're concerned with the EdLaw 2D and all that stuff, the information, that maybe you just use a new account if they haven't logged in this year, because there might be a chance they don't remember it. Mm-hmm. And that's a good question to put along to some districts as well, to your district admins, to see if there's a universal one, or in all reality right now, we are not really doing distance learning. We are doing emergency learning. And I think that's a thing that has to be put out there. Distance learning takes a lot of planning. And I think we're all emergency learning through online right now, and we're doing what we can to get by. And I think everyone is doing a fantastic job. That's all we've heard from admins and from parents and that we communicate with. So you're doing great things. Just make sure as we look forward into the future, we can hash a lot of this out, but check with your district in terms of what you want to do for logins and whatnot. I can give you suggestions, but ultimately it comes back to what the district thinks is best. So moving from that, when you first put students in, they have to actually log in to get onto this list. And you'll see I have one person who has not joined, student 42, and that's because I don't want them to join, because I wanted to show this part to you. I assigned grade 3, module 6, topic B. I can't assign individual lessons in the free account. I can only assign topics. And that's a big part of the free versus paid. I can assign them topics. So they'll start at the beginning of a topic and have to work through. So that's something to take note of, that you can change topics though. So if I decide that I want to take my daughter out of module 7, I can click and get her checkbox here, and I can click change lesson. I can do that for her, or I can do that for 2 or 3 students, or I can click and do it for every single one of them. So at any point, I can make adjustments and differentiate on the fly. So if I click change lesson, you're going to see I can jump her anywhere I want to across the K-5 spectrum, because that's what they have. I can change modules. And again, like we said, you can change topics. Okay, the paid version will allow you to get individual lessons. The advanced setting here, if I do decide to put to assign a different topic to a kid, I can make the guided practice optional. Maybe I just want them to go back to have reference to rewatch the video, but not have to go through and do all the bells and whistles with the lesson. That's where I can click that as well.
So Paul, one of the questions that came out right at the beginning is that the lessons are taking students hours to complete. Do you think it's because of that advanced setting, the make guided practice optional? They were requiring it?
I think so. I think so. And when I get to the lesson structure, what a lesson actually entails, you'll see a little more with that of why it could possibly take a kid longer. Okay, that's a great question. That is one of those pieces. But as a kid starts to get questions wrong, it's going to take them back and give them what's called a burst. And the burst is just a reteach of it. So it's trying to do on-the-spot intervention for them. That's probably why it's taking them a long time. If they're getting questions wrong, it's giving them bursts. It's giving them little video clips. It's giving them extra questions. That's possibly why. It means they're either clicking through or they don't understand it. And that'll show up in the report section that I'll get to in just a couple minutes.
Thank you.
Yep.
The last question that's kind of going with this, if you at one point assigned module 3, but then are going back to now you're going on to module 5, but they didn't finish module 3, will they lose all their work, or it will keep the work stored in Zearn?
It'll keep the work stored, but it'll show that they haven't completed certain lessons like out of module 4.
Okay, thank you.
And when we get into the student interface, you'll see that they can jump back. They can go back at any point. So if I've assigned grade 3, module 7, topic E, when my daughter signs in, she can actually go back into anything below module 7, topic E. So she can go mod 7, mod 6, all the way down into kindergarten fluencies if she wants to, just by jumping around. So that's why we say like assign ahead, and then they can go back and look at stuff once they get better. So they have access to all of those things beforehand and prior. And yes, their data does go with them.
Thank you.
Yep, that's assigning and kind of reassigning. This is where you'll come and do that. Like if you see that a kid is not doing well, and I'll show you the reporting section in a second, I can come in here and click one student or the whole class and just change their lesson form. That's kind of one of the nice pieces with Zearn. One thing that I want to go into real quick, and I'm going to go back to the homepage. And the good part is this bar up at the top doesn't ever go anywhere. If you want to jump to roster, resources, help, the curriculum, or just back to the main page, click Zearn. That's always going to be there. One good feature that they actually put in here is you can view the student feed. I don't have to log in as a student, which is kind of a nice spot. So I'm going to click that just so you can see the student side of this. And I'll try it as a student. This is pretty much what they're going to see other than this back to teacher experience. They won't see that. That's the only tab that they won't see when they log in. And what this view does is it gives you a chance to see kind of what the student layout is. So this is showing them right here where they're currently at in the mission. They're at level 1 number bonds. The number gym is going to be in the lesson breakdown. That's a fluency. Each lesson starts with 2 fluencies. One is normally just a generic fluency. One is a fluency based around the lesson. So I'm not going to jump in and show you what these look like right away unless we have time at the end, because I feel like that'll be something that you can kind of dive into and see if it's good. But they'll start with the fluency. That's what their next up is this lesson. If they click my stuff, this is where right now I'm in grade 1, mission 1. I can't unlock any of these because I have to do them to get to them. Now, if I had assigned mission 4, then they could go back to these other missions. So notice this back tab. They have access to all of the fluencies inside kindergarten. So my kindergarten teachers out here, they don't have a lesson set up similar to first through fifth. All you have really is fluency for numeracy. There's numbers to 5, numbers to 10, numbers to 20. So they're really just fluency activities for K, because their whole blended instruction philosophy is we don't want kids sitting in front and watching our videos and doing that, those questions and whatnot, kind of like first and up. Kindergarten is primarily based around fluency.
All right, Paul, we have a question. Even when you assign something passed for the first time, like mission 4, they will automatically get to go back?
Yep, they can go back to anything prior to it.
Thank you.
Which is a nice feature that they had. This is how we're getting around assigning individual lessons. So if you want to assign lesson 15, but the start of the topic is lesson 10, you assign the next topic after and tell the kid to go back. That's kind of how we're, it's the only workaround that we currently have with Zearn as a free account. And that can be a video if you really want it. If you want me to make a video showing how to jump back to lessons, just drop that in towards the end with comments, because I'm gonna make a whole bunch of these videos based on what you need. But also with the student view, this is where their class is. Right now it's home math. If I click that, which I can't right now, but the student will be able to, that's where they would click to change classes with their code. So I've went through the teacher view, assigning, creating rosters, and the student side. Any other questions or thoughts that you have? I know we've been doing a great job of trying to answer them along the way.
Let's see.
But I wanna pause right here because I've given you a lot. And if there's anything else, I got a lot. I got some other things that I got to go through, lesson breakdown and all of that stuff, the reports. I'm giving you a blow through of Zearn, and realize I'm going to give you the option to do to get a hold of us for follow-up too if you need it. So I'll for any of those questions here, and I'll check the chat real quick.
Mary, did he answer all of your questions? All right, Paul, Mary had some great questions. You answered most of them, so thank you.
Well, that's good. And I saw one like how to get back to prior lessons. Did somebody want the video made for that, or just kids get back to prior lessons by clicking on my stuff? That's going to change this view, and that's where they can jump back. The reason why this isn't showing any prior lessons is because it's the first mission in first grade. Prior to first grade, it's all fluency activities. So they could click. All of these are open. So they can do it again, it's going to say. And that's kind of what they'll get. And as they finish this, it will give you a little bit of the data look inside of your reports, which I'll get to in just a second. Okay. If there are no other questions, I'm going to keep going. And again, I apologize for blowing through this, but I want to make sure I get you some stuff to take a look at. So lesson breakdown, if you want to peek at this, I always go to curriculum to look at this. This curriculum allows me to pick, you can look at their approaches for grades 1 through 5 and grade K. That's why they're separated, because K is more fluency, and 1st through 5th is more blended learning with the video and whatnot. So I'm going to go into, I'll go into 3rd. And here's the overview. And I could click the PDF, which what you're going to find with the overview is it looks very, 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 very similar to Eureka Math and Great Minds, which is the modules. They actually were working together, and all of their lessons, like their missions, they're the same as modules. So mission 2 is module 2 from Eureka or Great Minds. A lot of their PDFs and supports for teaching instruction is going to be around Great Minds. So right now we're in the overview. I'll take a look at mission 2 just to show you some of these pieces of what I'm talking about. So inside mission 2, the way that they believe this is, they have note sheets that you can print and download that kids can actually write on. If you want to pay them, you can, but it's a PDF. My thought is take the PDF and print it. If you wanted to get paper copies out, they can follow along right with the lessons in Zearn. Over here, the teacher-led instruction, this is if you were going to use them inside station work. When we get back into school, you can still use Zearn and then do some teacher instruction with it. The reason why I showed this part for right now, because we had the question earlier, how is this associated with Great Minds? If I pick optional problem set, this might look very familiar. It's what it is. It's Engage New York, Eureka Math. Like, it doesn't get much more aligned than this. So those are there for me just to show that this is kind of what they're doing. They're basing it off of Eureka. So this is kind of where we get into the lesson breakdown for 1st through 5th grade. You'll have 2 fluencies. A number gym is normally the starting point, and then they'll get into the fluency more associated with the lesson. It could be Multiply Mania, Discovery Canyon. Really, they're fancy names for different types of fluencies. You could possibly even see a blast or a sprint in here. Sometimes they drop sprints in. I'm not seeing any in this one, but there are sprints inside of this as well, starting in 1st grade. Guided practice is going to be a video, whether it's a learning lab or a math chat. They're very similar, but you'll see subtle differences. There are check-in questions throughout those videos. The independent practice is like the problem set. It's called a Tower of Power. That's probably where the majority of your kids are getting hung up if it's taking them an hour to do the lesson. It means that they're not getting questions right and they're putting a burst in. That burst, again, is just a quick review to try to help them, to get them, the burst is like an energizer to get them keep going. So that's probably where they're getting hung up, is that independent practice. That will notify you in the reports, and I'll show you that piece in just a second. If they are struggling through the Tower of Power, it'll tell you where they're struggling. And then lastly, there's a bonus. If you have kids that want to just jump ahead and keep going, that's the optional piece at the end of each lesson.
Paul, is this
Is
this the free account or is this the paid?
This is free. I only run off of free.
Okay.
Simply because if I have a paid account, I better have a separate one to show for only paid people. Those of you that know me, I don't like to use the word cheap, but I am. I like free stuff. I like discount things, and I think that this free version does one of the best free versions that I've seen aligned. Again, I'm not trying to sell it. I'm just saying that it does help in a pinch. And we'll talk about uses towards the end a little bit.
Is there a way to override the burst?
That's a great question I'm going to ask. I don't think so. And the reason why I say I want to ask is I'm about 95% sure that you can't, simply because that's built into their program. There's no option to turn the burst off. I will email them today to see if they can turn that off. My thought is going to be no, because we kind of beat around the bush in a webinar with them about that piece. Can't we just push through so we can see their work? And when I get to the reporting piece, you'll see like the reports that you get from Zearn are not exactly what you might want. So I'm going to offer up some other suggestions with that as well. So I'll cover that. I know I beat around the bush with that one. I'll talk about it more with the reports when we get to it.
Okay, and we do have a few questions about reports, I believe, so.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that in just a second.
Thank you.
Okay. So the other big part is if a kid is working through any part of this lesson, because they're going to see it again back in their student view, what happens if they stop mid-lesson? Do they lose all their work? Does it save? The big piece that we had, and it's in the slide deck for reference, if they finish a section, it will save. So if they're in the middle of something, they're going to start back at the beginning. So if they're in the middle of their number gym fluency and they just click on the X and get out, they're going to have to start back over on their number gym. But if they get through the number gym and then they close out, they'll continue on after the number gym. So it does save progress at checkpoints, okay? That is the case with most of the videos too. When they get to a checkpoint, it will save their data, meaning if they submit a response, it should save their data. So that's a big question we always get is, does it save all the time? It saves during checkpoints.
So we have maybe a few teachers that are worried it's during the tower of power.
Yep.
Kids aren't able to get through it, and then they have to restart.
It should continue where they last submitted, unless and put this in the chat, is there a specific case where kids have gotten partway through, have shut off and had to restart, or are we concerned that it could happen?
Or are they just not finishing it that day, and so they can't start lesson 2 when they didn't finish lesson 1? I'm asking that for the people in the chat.
Yeah, and I got to find that in my slide deck because I talked about this. And this is where I'm going to get lost in my slide deck. I might have to come back to it, but my thought is, it said that it saves. There it is, student saving. Fluency activities. This is directly from Zearn. So this is a good thing that I probably should have just came to. Guided practice, as students finish problems, they save for 4 days. So that's the guided practice. Progress inside the independent, that's the tower of power. Progress is saved automatically at each step of the tower of power. So they should be able to log right back in and continue where they left off. The part with guided practices, after 4 days, it resets because they did some studies around that saying that if kids came in a week later, they didn't remember I mean, let's be honest, I barely remember what I did this morning. So like 4 days later, a kid might have to start that video over. The full description is linked up right here though, that will take you directly into it. So I gave you links all through the presentation, but this was kind of my big thing. Where do they save along the way?
So and this is Jeannie, so Jeannie, feel free to speak up, please. She said that they get so frustrated on the tower of power that they shut down and they never get through it.
Yep, and I'm going to talk about that with the reports where I might give you a separate option to use a blended piece with this.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm kind of getting to that point. I'm probably just going to jump right into reports if you're okay, because it's a nice move into it. I don't have a lot of reports. I'm going to be honest with you, simply because my kids are doing some of this and I'm doing this more as like a supplemental. So they give you how to use the reports. I'll talk you through that piece. Kindergarten does an activity tracker, which I'll talk about, and all of these are defined in the slide deck more. There's really 4 different, well, there's one for kindergarten, just where they are in the activity, what activities they accomplished. That's really all the report does for kindergarten. So it's not going to give you that hard evidence that you need. For 1st through 5th, you're going to see there's a couple of them. PACE is just saying how many lessons per week are they covering. You can see like we haven't been on in a while because new learning is kind of starting. We're jumping in, we're dabbling, I'm doing paper stuff, but you can see like we haven't covered any. Oh, darn, sorry. But the 13th through the 19th, we did 4 lessons in there. Okay, total badges are 5. This is where he's currently at. That's the lesson that he's on to next. There's the last logins and whatnot. So this is just PACE. Like how many lessons are they covering? What are their percentages and all that? Not a whole lot in that one. Progress is going to show more where they are in the scope of the curriculum. So this is just a broad overview, and this is really all this report does. So you're going to see me make a comment probably towards the end that the reporting piece, they need to amp it up, in my opinion, which is where you're going to get my honest opinion as opposed to me, trying to, stick up for them in their reporting piece. I did email them the other day, and I'll tell you about that in just a second. This tower alerts is kind of what some of you were talking about. If a kid struggles, anytime in the past 2 weeks, it's going to have a list of alerts down here of the kid and what they struggled on. So number of struggles, if a kid gets 1 question or more wrong, they're going to populate in here. It's going to say their name, the mission, and the lesson right inside here. That's all it's going to say. So it's going to tell you where they struggled. It is not going to let you go back and look at their student work. Like I said, I emailed them and asked, is there a way for us to look at student work lesson by lesson, question by question? And their response was, there's too much data in there to make that happen. So there's no, the way that I see Zearn working, I'm getting ahead of myself, is I see this being a watch the video, do some of the guided practice, and then do this assignment, and it might be an outside assignment. I mean, the independent practice is okay, but we can't really see a lot of the work that they're doing. They don't have a whiteboard app inside built into their program, so they're not showing work either. That's a suggestion that we put forward to Zearn, is to get a whiteboard in there so we can look at student work. But this is a blended platform, meaning they watch the video and then they're supposed to do something paper-based or something in another online program, which is where Emily would be a phenomenal help after the fact to say, they've watched the video on Zearn, now click here and do your work inside of Kami or Jamboard or something like that.
Paul, we had a question, and I apologize because I didn't grab you quick enough. It's about PACE reports.
About what?
PACE reports, or didn't you model that one?
I did. It's right here.
Okay, sorry. I apologize. I was
No, you're fine.
looking in the chat. So we had a question. It says, on the PACE report, there's sometimes an asterisk next to the lesson. And Jeanette had looked it up, and it says something like the student is not on the assigned lesson. How do they go to that lesson that they are, how did they get to the lesson they are not assigned?
How do they get to a lesson that they're not assigned?
Yeah, because they're doing work, but they haven't done the lesson that they were supposed to.
It means that they jump back. So I assigned this at the very beginning. I assigned grade 3, module 7, the last topic, but I reset the lesson to my student. So like I sent my daughter back to do this one. So either I reassign this this specific module to her, or she clicked back in her my stuff on her teacher dash or on her student dashboard. And that's kind of right here as well. Why is my student working on something else? You can get into their help desk to check that. But that's what I saw on it. There's two different ways. Either they clicked back or I gave them a different lesson after I previously assigned this one. Hopefully that helps a little bit.
Jeanette and Jacqueline, did that help? So they should not go to my stuff then?
They can, if you want them to go back or they want to go back, yes. But if you want them to work directly through, I would just assign them a lesson and say, click on next, go to your next stuff.
Thank you.
That's kind of where I would go next up.
Thank you.
Okay. No, these are great questions because the tower alerts that I just went through, like it'll give you alerts, same thing with sprints. This is the last report that I have. If a kid makes too many mistakes on the sprint that they're given, it's just going to give you their name and what sprint it was. And it's going to tell you whereabout that they made a mistake. It's good, again, to get you big things like, oh, they struggled on this topic, this lesson. Let me go look at it and see how I can intervene. But it's not going to let you look at their work because there is no work inside of Zearn. It's really just typing in answers and clicking around. So when we look at this blended piece, this blended instruction, this is great for initial instruction to get them the new lesson with the Math Chat video and the guided practice. There is some to be desired with the independent. And that's where, as we get better with this and as we move forward, maybe even into next year, it's not a bad piece to supplement with Zearn, but we need to find a way to get a look at student data. And this is not going to give us what we want for student data yet.
Paul, I have a question in the chat. Sorry, I
Yeah.
keep interrupting.
No, you're fine. I'm kind of rambling.
Are the, well, you know, I wasn't going to say it. Are the alerts just through reports, or can you also receive emails?
Right now, from what I believe, because I haven't been getting them through my email, I believe that they're going to come into Zearn. You have to log in and take a look at that. So you got to be in your Zearn account. But I
Thank you.
will send that along and see if they can turn that option on. And I'm sorry, I'm jotting stuff down now because if I don't, it's going to be gone.
Paul, I'm keeping track of that for you. Don't worry about it.
All right, I am not going to write anything down then. That is all you, Emily. So this is Emily's fault if I don't do that. So any other questions with reports? Because I got like 2 quick things left, and then I'll open that up. You've been doing a great job asking questions. I feel like I got a nice list that I can send out. I got like 2 things left to cover, and then I'll open it up for people. Any questions? I see the chat's blowing up.
Yes. So Joanne's asking, in the curriculum tab, there was mention of exit tickets. Is that part of the purchase site of Zearn?
So the curriculum piece for exit tickets, let me, I'm going to get into an actual mission because I think that's where they are. And again, this is me just basically clicking around. These ones over here, like this is your notes and exit tickets. You can print those. They're meant for paper. So when we emailed them and said, how do we get data? They expect the students to do the lesson online. Here, watch it, go through some independent practice, then meet with the teacher. They're going to use, and I'll show you this real quick because it's a good question that was brought in. This is the exit ticket for lesson 1 in grade 4. They fill this out in paper and give it to the teacher. There's no electronic exit ticket through Zearn. It's meant to be a blended, some online, some paper-based.
Paul, can we have, can we have some clarity? So you said your suggestion was to have students watch the video, complete the guided practice, and then do an independent assignment outside of Zearn. Can they go on to the next lesson without doing that Tower of Power?
So my big disclaimer for that is we got to do some videos around it. I don't think that they should skip the independent practice, but I also completely understand if your kids are spending hours on the independent practice because they're getting them wrong. They're getting hit with bursts left and right. If you as a teacher see that burst, you can move them forward in the instruction with assigning them the next topic, and they can always go back.
So they'd have to really like look at their students' progress on a regular basis and assign like a daily or weekly or whatever.
Yeah, it would have to be that, and that could be something where when I get to it, I'll put up where you can book a half-hour meeting with Emily or I or a small group. I highly recommend something like that, so we can chat through the best options for you and your students, because it is going to depend on grade too. There's a lot more we can do with 5th and 4th graders than kind of having 1st graders try to click and jump around, especially because we don't want to overwhelm our parents and our students. So I know I can't fully answer that, but there are ways, but they're workarounds. And they're not the most ideal, but I think we can make something work, but it's going to be kind of on a grade to grade basis type thing. So hopefully that helped with the exit ticket piece. That's the paper stuff here. Going along or kicking them out to something else like a Google form after they get done, because how are we going to get them into Zearn? You might have them go to Zearn.org. You might also push the Zearn.org link out through like a Google Classroom and an assignment. So go to Zearn first, then come back and fill out the exit ticket using a Google form or something like that. And I know it seems like a lot of pieces, but it's going to be dependent upon where you're at and your comfort level for technology. So if you're looking for other ways to get data while using Zearn, that's like that follow-up conversation that we'll get to in just a second, if that works. And I know I'm just talking, but I'm assuming that's what some people might be thinking right now is, how can I use this to kind of move forward? So a couple quick things, and I got to jump in here because I got to get to the link. I can't remember. I know where it is, but it's just easier to click off of here. So the comparisons, I'm not going to go through all of this with you. We have this right here, the free account. So you get all of the digital instruction, classroom level reports. to really look at that pacing piece. So you have access of everything that I just showed you. You can report share with a co-teacher once you get into that paid piece. That's over here. And I'm trying to get them to open some of those features up. There is the one right there that we're looking at, the individual student reports. They are not there yet. They're supposed to be here in July. Real-time progress, would student need more support? That is coming soon. And right now it's going to be a paid feature, but we don't know if they'll drop that into free, but that answers that question about data. But really you can kind of check in here and see the difference between the two. I wanted to link that part in. The last piece, and then I'll open it up to questions, is the resources. This slide 27 will help you out. You can click on the help at any point up here. If I click on help, it'll take you to this part and you can search. You can click on all these different things. I got a lot of articles in here, how-to documents and such. That's really right here. I gave that to you in the slide deck. They do have a part with distance learning. That's been kind of nice. That's normally on the teacher dashboard. Sorry for clicking around so much. I just want to make sure I can find it. And right here for the distance learning, what's new? That might go away eventually as new things come out, but it's right here, the distance learning. How can we help? Thanks to donations. If you want to donate to them, feel free. But, you know, I haven't lately. So anyway, starting quickly with Zearn, you got some of those webinars and those quick videos for teachers, for parents. Like I said, they have some live openings where you can jump on and chat with them, which I think is nice. It'll probably be Ashley or Corinne. They're fantastic. They're the people that we're working with to get questions and answers done. But notice that they only have like 3 videos on here. I'm willing to make a lot more for you as you see fit to help get this stuff implemented. I've already started that on my YouTube channel. Zearn videos, I got 2 of them in there. And I'm going to continue to add more to that link. I will put that link off the regional shared calendar to the YouTube channel for Zearn. I believe there's already a link on there off to the right-hand side. So that's kind of where I'm at in terms of making supports. I'm not going to make the videos unless they're requested. So by all means, request them. Give me, I don't want to say give me something to do because I think we're all sitting in a great spot, but if you have videos you want, I want to make those for you. I think they're going to be useful.
Paul, we have a few. Okay, I dropped the ball earlier and forgot to ask a question. It's about badges.
Yeah.
So let me find I had 2 questions and I forgot, of course, to ask one of them. How do you know what a badge is equivalent to in understanding? That's the first.
It's more or less completion, the way that I understand it. Completion of different pieces. And like I said, like if I go into reports, I can't remember if it's pace or progress. I want to say that it's probably not going to be. There it is, total badges, 5. He's done 5 lessons. So he's got 5 badges. That's
probably. Does it ever say like what specific lessons he completed?
And I'm clicking, sorry. Yeah, it'll say like the lesson when it was. It's time stamped, and then you can go look at the lesson.
Okay, thank you.
But I don't believe
it's only if they successfully completed the whole lesson.
Yeah, that's how they get their badge.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, hopefully that answered that. But you'll see like right here, this is where he's at. He's not completed this yet. So I can check status by clicking, which is kind of a nice piece. But again, no reports until 2020, July. And that kind of puts us right here. What questions do you still have? What do you need for supports? Videos would be helpful. And Emily, I know you're probably taking more notes and doing more for this session than maybe most. I feel like this is great. You're asking the right questions. Everyone is. I mean, if I don't have an answer or one that you like, tell me and I'll get the answer. I don't know if you're still going to like it, but I can try to get you your answer. I'm kind of checking in here if there's other questions. I saw one up here that was interesting. Yes, formative allows students. Okay, so Emily, you mentioned formative and somebody said go formative. Has the online exit tickets. Yes. That is a perfect option to tie in to that. And that's something where a half-hour session, we can walk you through that piece. Informative, there's a library of all the exit tickets for Engage New York, Eureka, that would line in perfectly with all of this. They're already there. You just have to click and assign. But again, it's another platform. So we have to be mindful of that piece. But I wanted to speak to that because I happened to see it. Formative is directly related, I would say, to Zearn as well and to Eureka.
Okay, Paul, we had something come in. Jacqueline said she had one student that did not get a badge, but it showed her the lesson was completed. Was it perhaps unsuccessful in like the problem with Tower of Power or a sprint?
It could be just the number of it could be the number of bursts that they had to go through in the independent practice. I will ask that question. That's my immediate thought. That either they didn't complete it, like it was probably hit inside of that report that said that they struggled through the Tower of Power or the sprint. That's my initial thought. But again, I'm going to put that down because that's a specific case that I haven't had the question on. I want to get the answer because that's definitely going to come up.
I wrote it down already.
Badge, you already wrote it?
Yeah.
Okay. I keep forgetting that I got somebody here taking notes for me. This is amazing. I owe you.
Yeah.
Any other questions that you have? Concerns? Thoughts? I mean, this is a lot of information. I probably could have done an hour and a half or 2 hours on this, but I wanted to give you a basic look. That's why it was an intro to see, is this something you want to dive into? If you do, we can talk more about it, ways to implement and whatnot. But I don't want you to go into Zearn and play for 3 or 4 hours and realize you wasted 3 or 4 hours of your life. Hopefully, you'll at least walking out of here saying, I'm not, if you're not using Zearn, at least you can say, well, I got the information. I know why I'm not. Or if you're going to use it, now you know how you're going to use it and what other things might need to be in place. Where will this video be posted so we can refer back to it later on? I'm going to put it on the PLIC school closure toolkit on BT BOCES, but I'm also going to tag it to my math calendar.
And Paul, could we also put it on the first slide of this slide deck? That's what I've been doing.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds great. We're going to put it everywhere. Just so you stumble across it maybe. In the slides, I'll put it on the shared calendar, and I'll drop it along to our people at BOCES to put on our PLIC closure. And again, keep dropping those questions in. Big piece right here. If you want to book a half-hour one-on-one or even small group, I did a small group session yesterday with Zearn just to kind of chat through it. Book us. There's our links to you can book me. If you don't see a time you like or you don't want to mess with another platform, shoot us an email. That would work out fine for me. I can jump on and we can chat.
Yep.
And then make sure that with ClickUp, you get your confirmation inside of ClickUp for that. This link is if you have not created an account, you want to use your school email address. This one is to go in and verify. So if you already have a ClickUp account, click in there, find this session, and then type in this code and get your confirmation. That'll give me your email address. I will not spam you. Not a lot, at least. No, I'm kidding. I will send you the email with the link to this slide deck so you'll have the video and all the supports with it. I just want to make sure that we are keeping track of that. And definitely use your school account for this piece. Lastly, I know people are jumping off. It's 12:30. I want to make sure that I hold to that. Thank you. I appreciate you coming on and chatting a little bit and tossing some questions around Zearn. I hope it was helpful to get some basic information on this. Reach out to us if you need anything. I'm going to hang around for a couple minutes because, you know, Pennsylvania is beautiful. And I'm going to sit here in this welcome center and kind of answer questions because I actually have internet right now. But I'll hang out for a couple minutes and take any questions that you have, concerns. and have a great rest of the day. And I know I didn't start with this, but everyone is doing a great job. You're doing what you need to, and we're here to support you in any way possible. So if there are not sessions that you want, like you don't see that session being offered, reach out to us. You have to let us know, and we will open those sessions up for you. We're here to support in any way we possibly can. So have a great rest of the day, and I'll hang around for a little while. Thanks.
Have a good day, everybody.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah, I'm here.
Brenda.
Hey, Brenda.
So here's what we're grappling with right now, and maybe you can help us with this.
Okay.
For students who struggle, say consultant, special ed students who are supposed to be exposed to tier 1 grade level content.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that in Zearn, like you could just link to the lesson and they wouldn't have to do anything else.
Mm.
So Jen O'Shea played around with that you had to the kids still had to log into Zearn.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that.
So linking directly to the lesson?
Yeah.
I'd love to see how they're pulling that, like directly to the lesson. Do they have to do all of the lesson, like the fluency, the chat?
No, just the lesson itself.
So the guided practice, like
Yeah.
this math chat piece.
Yeah.
And I know I'm doing it right in front of everyone. This is like dangerous, but that didn't work.
Are you trying to go to incognito mode?
Yeah, I was trying to because I'm logged in, but yeah,
So,
I mean, you can rip that. I'm logged in though. Let me grab that and see. I'm going to an incognito window just to try. I don't know if you can see my screen right now, but it's going to force a login. So you can link directly out to it.
Yeah, we can't see the incognito. Oh.
Yeah, I know. I'm not in incognito. I tried it. It's going to take you, when I copied this specific lesson, I got so many tabs, tab shaming. When I right click and grab that, it's forcing a login. I have to really play around with that and see if a kid can actually get to it or if you have to assign past that lesson. You know what I mean? Like if I go into like 4th grade, I'm in 1st grade module 4. If I haven't assigned module 4 to a kid, but I give them that chat video, are they still able to view it?
what if you had assigned module 4? I mean, yeah.
I believe it's going to take them, once they sign in, it's probably going to force them right back to the number gym.
Yeah, but I think what Jen was doing was like she would go to the lesson, the math, the guided practice, and just that part, like providing a link just to that part.
Yeah, and if you sign before, so they're not taking this part,
right,
not taking tower.
Right.
She's just, yeah, that would be, yeah, that seems like a good way to do it. I think the other, and I'm going here just to make sure that this is the case. When I showed this part about going in and having students click back, grabbing the link for them is probably the best, because if they go back, and I'm in 1st grade, of course, but if they click into a lesson that they haven't done, they can technically, like a prior lesson, they could click and get that part of the lesson in here. So they could click directly on it. So she's just taking out the fact that the kids have to jump.
You're saying the student can do that?
Yeah, the student can do that. But what you're saying is Jen is giving the link for them so they don't have to.
Well, that's what we're playing around with stuff. That's what
I think that's a phenomenal workaround. I think that's a great way to work around right now. I'm going to play with that later today and see what it looks like. Yeah, I'll mess around with that with my daughter's account and kind of play and see if that works. I think it's a good workaround to get them initial teaching. My only concern is like, what are we going to do to try to see what they know? And I mentioned it in here. that like, I just don't feel like their independent practice is giving the data that's showing like kids know it. Do you know what I mean?
You're right, right.
So I think that that's a great workaround. Are you typing that down, Emily?
Yep.
Okay, good, because I was gonna try to write it, but because that's something I want to check into, and that's really what I was hoping from today, is to get this and then get other ideas that people are trying and messing with, because it's really hard to get exactly what we need from Zearn in this type of situation. I think that's a great way to do it, is to put that link out, whether it's through Google Classroom or Schoology. The kid signs in, they go to it, and then the next assignment might be a Google form or a formative or whatever they have next inside of Google Classroom. Watch this video, then come back and do this assignment. Is that kind of what you're thinking, Brenda?
I'm typing right now because Sarah's like gonna give me a heart attack. So I wasn't really listening. No, don't. This would only be for a limited number of students. This wouldn't be for everyone.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Sarah, right. Mm-hmm. What did you say, Paul?
I think I love that. Go drink a cocktail. No, I think that's a good workaround to get the video, and then if you have other assignments like a problem set or something else you want them to complete instead of the independent practice in Zearn, then you just attach that inside, like, I don't know if you guys are using Google Classroom or not, but give the link out to Zearn, and then underneath it is the assignment, which it could be like a Google form or I don't know, something else associated with that lesson. Does that make sense? I'm using GC. Oh, are you trying to?
You know what? I'm getting sick of typing over here.
Yeah, just unmute yourself.
I didn't know I could do that. You know what, B? You be nice to me, okay? I'm gonna start drinking. Okay, wait. So here's my question, though. So the kiddos. So we had one teacher, no names here, B. You already know, who went in and started making these Google forms for certain of the exit tickets. The problem is for the littles, they need to draw things, not just type numbers. They need to show their work using, pictures.
Yeah.
So for me, it's stupid to go insert text boxes into a digital, like a form.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't have access to anything in my classroom, and I'm not sending out your whole workbook and delivering them to the kids.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Right. So my thing is when they go in, B, what was the thing with notes that we were talking about? Because the notes and the exit ticket are two totally different things, but notes is not for every lesson. I think there's only 2 lessons in the shapes one that needs the notes.
Are you talking about the notebook?
The notebook and the exit ticket type of thing, because the guided practice does not, is that the exit ticket?
No, the guided practice is the guided practice is the video piece where they're watching and answering a couple questions in it. The independent
Really concept development then?
Yeah, that's going to be like, that's your notes section. If there's anything to write down,
Okay.
based on the video, they'll give you that notes in that PDF I showed.
Right.
That's theirs. That's not ours.
Okay, so what's the whole thing when they're writing down? That's
their exit ticket and a couple of their note sheets.
Okay.
So sometimes during the guided practice, they'll write stuff down on paper. Sometimes they won't. The exit ticket is more, it's going to be pretty much every lesson. That's their paper piece. Like, do this exit ticket and hand it to your teacher.
Right. And that's what we usually go over with them in school. Like, we sit down with them and we have them do it, and then we check it and sit down and go over it. But there's no way to provide any feedback for them. So it's essentially it's busy work for them.
Sure is.
Because I'm not sitting to meet with anybody in my small groups. So in the beginning, there was a little thing that you clicked that said disable independent practice. Will you go back and show me where it said?
Sure. Yeah, I know. I went kind of fast.
Oh, trust me, everything I do is fast. I can keep up.
So inside roster.
Okay, in roster.
I can click student and I can change lesson. I can do all of them or just one or two.
Wait, hold on. I got to X you out. I'm seeing your thing. Okay. So you went in and you click student. So if I wanted to do, but I would essentially do everyone, except I have a couple that have printers at home who have parents that really, so I could leave it for them.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
And then you could do change lesson. And this is right. You just pick the grade and whatever that you want. And then it's advanced settings. Make guided practice optional.
So that, do they,
It's going
can
to
they
take
go
away
in? I'm sorry, go ahead.
it's going to really only take away, they'll have to complete the fluency and the independent practices. They're not going to be required to watch the video.
Oh, well then I don't want that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
No. I wanted to be able to take away like the exit ticket type of thing. No, the video is the most important part.
Yeah, that's where what Brenda was saying with grabbing the link.
Right.
That's a good thing, or even telling them like, that's a workaround I got to look at.
Wait, B, what were you saying about like linking? What were you and Jen talking about? Linking the actual.
Just the teaching video.
So you can grab it. I mean, you can see my video, my screen still, right?
Yes, but then they won't get the Tower of Power, will they?
That's the point.
Yeah, you don't want, that's the problem with the Tower of Power is like, that's where kids are spending like an hour because they're getting them wrong. And
yeah, but then it redirects them and gives them, it gives them remediation for that.
Yeah. So you kind of want that. And some people are saying,
that's our data.
And they're like, how do I get away from that? Because kids are spending an hour in here because they're getting it wrong. Some people just want to give them the new learning. So I would give that link. And
yeah, but what's the point of that if you can't evaluate it? And how do you even know? Like in the Tower of, I keep calling it the Tower of Terror. In the Tower of Power, you can, I know it's not specific exactly where they're getting stuck, but that's, I mean, I hate to say this, but some kids are just never going to get it.
Yep.
But the ones that do, I can see their data that they're doing it. And once they complete that, that's when it unlocks, how do they call it? The next mission, right?
Yeah, and that's where they get to go on to the next lesson or the bonus. Now, what people, the way that I interpret it, and I could have interpreted that wrong, they wanted to bypass this because they were going to give something else for independent practice.
Well, what would you give them? Making digital papers?
Some are. Emily can chime in a little bit about what some are using. We see forms. We've seen Cami being used. I mean,
what is Cami? I don't even know what that means.
Well, at 1:30 we have a session.
Listen, I've already been on 2 Zoom meetings. I can only go into meetings where Brenda's around because she has to keep me in line.
So Cami has an annotation tool. So those exit tickets that Paul showed, and really they're, Eureka Math. You can attach in Google Classroom as a Cami assignment, and it opens up that PDF in Cami, and they have a little drawing tool on the left-hand side. The kids click on that little drawing tool, and they can literally show their work.
Wait a minute. So do I like screen capture my screen, or is there a way to?
No, it's the PDFs that you can download or,
What?
Yeah, it's powerful.
So instead of going in and creating a form, are you doing it for me right now?
Oh, me?
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were going in and showing me how to do Cami.
I'm not going to do Cami. I can let Emily do that piece, but I can show you, like, the PDFs for all the exit tickets are already off the calendar. So you could grab those and have kids drop it directly into Cami. Or you could. So I don't know if Emily, if you want to show that quick. Do you got another meeting, Emily?
In 45 minutes.
Okay.
Wait, so I know how to access this Google Calendar, but what am I doing? Are you talking about your things that you put on our shared drive, like your PDFs?
Yeah, so you would grab any of those PDFs and then you can use Cami to write on top of them.
But there's like a quadrillion pages on one. So how do I just narrow it down to the one?
So when you click the word print,
Emily?
When you click print, you can select pages, and one of the options is like PDF.
Okay, that's how. Okay, I know that. Okay, that I can do. Okay. Oh, good. No, I'm watching.
Okay, well that's kind of what I think you would go through is print a PDF.
And choose the 1 page or 2 pages that you would want for that lesson.
So like really, technically, if you see a kid that's really struggling, you can skip them over it and just give them one of these instead of them spending an hour on this thing. Say, here, try to do this.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't want to assign these to everybody, but if I'm going in and seeing that little Susie is spending 3 hours on the Tower of Terror, Power, whatever it is, then I'm going to say, I'll send an email that, or in her Google Classroom that just says, hey, why don't you do this? Show me what you're doing, kiddo. And then I can understand where she's, you know, where she's really struggling. I mean, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I don't want to, and I don't know how to get these into my Google Classroom. It would be downloading the PDF in my Google Classroom and then just attaching that into an assignment. Is that what? Or do you attach it directly to the Zearn lesson?
No, you would want to, do you use Google Classroom, Sarah?
Well, I'm brand new, so.
All right. I understand. So when you go to, I think it's the classwork tab and you click like create or new, Cami assignment is one of the options. And Binghamton does, oh, okay, thank you, April. Binghamton has the paid version of Cami.
Wait, hold on. I'm doing it right now on my other computer.
So
okay,
it should show up.
Okay, so I'm in my Google Classroom and in there under classwork, I'm with you.
So click, is it create or new?
Yeah, it's the blue create, yes.
Yep. And then choose Cami assignment.
What?
And then you attach. I think it's the word add is the button.
So that turns out then in the assignment that rolls out?
Yep.
What? Okay, I didn't realize that. So what is it? So there's Cami, what's the other one I didn't know? I just discovered make a question, so Nearpod, I don't really know what that is, but wait a minute. Where the hell is Cami? I don't see, oh yeah, Cami. So that's the screen capture where they have the tool to like draw on.
Correct.
So I
you're
need
uploading
to do that
PDF and they're going to write on top of it.
Oh, it's like a screen protector. It's okay.
It's like a layering tool.
Okay. So, but it tells me to log in. So I'm logging into the Cami and okay. I'm going
to probably have to create your account the first time.
Okay. And you're doing this at what time?
1:30.
Oh, Jesus. She'll probably have to deal with me again. B won't be on. She stays far
You know
away.
what? The Google Classroom side of it is Dodie's area. I'm the Schoology side, so.
Okay. Oh, don't be throwing that at me. I'm still trying to figure out how to assign things. I'm recording my bedtime stories and asking them questions about those. So I'm still learning.
That's awesome. That's a great start.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's something. All right. So I'm going to go. I'm not going to disable that thing because that skips the whole freaking video, which is the point of this learning.